Hello and welcome to episode 122 of Masters of the Forge. Oh, it's been a long time since I have talked to you, Jason. It's not even been a long time since just like we've recorded.
Yeah.
But it's been a long time since we've talked.
Yeah, because, oh god, this semester. My semester's over. I'm so happy about that, I don't even know how to explain it.
Nice.
Well, hold on, it's not over. I haven't finished grading. I got 20, 30 projects left, but, you know, whatever.
So, I think we last released in October?
Yeah, that was the Orcs episode.
In Orktober, which has been... I mean, we talked about it in the last episode, but Orktober was brutal. It was... I couldn't go on the internet without using the C word, so I'm glad that's over. I'm glad it's done with.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're both going to have quite a bit of like hobby progress and stuff that we've done to talk about. So why don't we break it up? Why don't we do hobby progress first, and then we'll do like activities second. Okay.
I think I can do that. Yeah.
Cool. So, I painted the Luda wagon I had that I made out of a, what do you call them? The, rock grinder, the Gene Stealer Cult rock grinder.
Yeah.
In my blue scheme. It was a while ago, but I got that done like last minute. And I'm really happy with it. I really like the way it came out. It looks super cool. It's got the big crane on it. Like, it's super legit, dude. Super legit.
Oh, yeah, I remember this. Sorry, everyone. It has been, 6 weeks, so, you know.
And I had a bunch of grots left over from my Stompa kit, because I didn't actually put any of the grots on it, because I was using it as a Khorne Lord of Skulls in my Demonkin army, so...
Yeah.
So I had those guys. I'm like, well, I'll put them on this because it's supposed to be my Luda's wagon, right? Like all my Ludas go in there and they shoot and stuff. So, so they're all hanging from it and doing fun things. It's a super fun model. I really liked it. I did. Our store on Flipside, they were super nice and they gave me. They gave me a couple of the new buggies.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Some of the dice and the cards.
Yeah.
As a thank you for some of the events I run. So that was super, super nice of them. So I painted those. I also painted the buggies that came with the kit, or that came with the Speed Freaks box. And I also did a repaint of the buggies that I made out of the Space Marine speeders. That I stole that idea from Matt from Adeptus Terra podcast.
That's right.
But like now it's basically like, you know, it's my idea now because people are like, oh, that's a really great idea. And I after the 100th time explaining that it wasn't my idea, I'm just like, yeah, aren't they awesome? So yeah. So that's cool. Those I'm using those as Boondocka Snaz wagons. I added like a rotary cannon on the side, and I gave all the guys grenades, like stick bombs that are red painted stick bombs to kind of show that it's got the same kind of weapons. So now I've got a Def Killer Wartrike, a Shock Jump Dragsta, a Custom Booster Blasta, a Megatrack Scrapjet, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But that's the one that looks like an airplane on wheels.
Yeah, I saw that.
Three Boondocka Snazwackins. And I just put the finishing painting touches on the Ruckatruck Squig Buggy.
Oh,
which I haven't posted pictures of yet. So I was inspired. I was like, okay, how do I paint this thing? Because it's clearly got redneck orcs all over it. Like, it's straight up redneck orcs all over this thing. How do I paint this up? And I'm like, I really want to do it like the General Lee from
Dukes of Hazzard, yeah.
Dukes of Hazzard. But how do I do that without like promoting American traders of history? And I'm like, And I was inspired yesterday because someone posted, like I've seen it posted before, but someone posted the General Grant card.
Oh yeah,
where
yeah,
it's
yeah.
the same.
That was Jim that did that.
What is it? Was it Dodge Charger or something? I can't remember. Whatever. I can't remember the name of what it is, but it's the same car, but it's painted blue, has the American flag on it, and it's called the General Grant. So I'm like, yes, that's what I'm doing. Except I put 35 stars on the flag because that's correct. There were 35 stars on the American flag during the American Revolution, but you can't fault people. It's fine. Yeah. It's fine. So that's super cool. I'm super happy with how that turned out. I'm also working on a secret project that I can't talk about, but it's the one I posted in Discord a while back, Jason. I'll send you a message. We'll talk about it next time.
Sounds
it's
familiar.
Super great. Yeah.
I don't. Okay.
I also painted the Skaven Warband for Shadespire.
Oh yeah, those look great, man. Love those.
Thank you. I'm actually mainly using them for D&D. I've started a D&D campaign set in the Mortal Realms, so that's what they're really for. I also painted my Shadespire orcs, actually, too. Yeah. So I have two. I have two Shadespire warbands now, all fully painted, and I can use those. Now the Skaven, I was super happy with how the bases turned out, so I wanted to share how I did that. So sometimes you'll see stone painted with kind of a greenish tinge, or like a blue-green tinge that kind of reminds you of maybe some of the colors that you'll see in like World of Warcraft and stuff, like in the deep places of the earth.
Yeah.
So what I did with those was I painted the bases with whatever shade gray you want to make it. So like it depends on how dark you're going, you know. I think for my part, I think I might have used Storm Vermin fur, which is kind of dark.
Yeah, that is kind of a dark gray, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not
but
as dark
I washed
as
it with.
But...
Yeah, no. I washed it with Coelia Green Shade.
Yeah.
And that after a clear coat, like I did a clear coat, and then I did Coelia Green Shade over it.
Right.
And then, or did I do the clear coat even? I think. See, the thing with washes is if you want it to permeate everything, you don't do the clear coat. If you want it to sit deeper in the recesses but leave the surfaces clear, you do it after the clear coat. Okay. But I think I did this one after, and I did that, and then after that I did a little bit of Reichland Flesh Shade over that, and that not like over the whole thing. The Reichland Flesh Shade was only like there's parts where you have sewer grates and the rats are coming out of it.
Yeah.
So only those have the brown. So that was really cool. I really love how that turned out, those bases for the stone. I'm definitely going to be looking into that Coelia Green Shade more often when it comes to natural, because I have the green weathering powder, but I've never been able to get it to work right for working minis. And by working minis, I mean minis that you're actually going to use on the battlefield.
Oh yeah.
I would use weathering powders all day for showpiece miniatures, but I'm not going to. I can't tell any way to protect the weathering powder from touching without messing it up. Yeah. Every clear coat I've ever used for powders has messed it up. I wonder if I can shoot Lamian Medium through the airbrush, if that would work. I don't know.
Actually you can, because all it is it's the medium of the paint. There's just no pigment in it.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe I'll give that a try. So what else? Oh, I've done a ton of refurbishing for my orcs. So I've gone, but like I said in the last episode, some of anything that was red and yellow, I want to be blue and yellow, so it's a cohesive paint scheme.
Right.
And I'm gonna be just going Death Skulls from here on out. Like I said, Mad Doc is a Death Skull, and he's always been my warlord, so it's basically how it goes. Death Skulls are really cool with the buggies too, and I love the buggies. So I've repainted like I said, the buggies I had. Those were a red and yellow, so I repainted the red to blue after I made some conversions. Then I had some Ludas. I actually bought the Luda Burna Kill Team box because it comes with a bunch of stratagems and stuff, and I thought that would be really cool. And the Space Marine came with stratagems and stuff too, right, Jason?
Yeah, it did. They're mostly Space Wolf things, though.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, because like I was thinking about getting the Space Marine Commander box, which is a librarian, but it was a wolf, and I was like, I'm not going to play Space Wolves. Ain't happening.
Oh.
There's nothing wrong with Space Wolves. I'm not playing them, so.
Well, you got to draw the line somewhere, right?
Well, that's Jim. Jim gets to play Space Wolves. I'm going to play the awful Thousand Sun Witches.
Nice.
We can have our Wizard of Oz meme war continue.
That was funny, wasn't it?
That was a great time because we just kept going on and on with it. So it's about time to start that up again, to be honest.
Oh, sure. Yeah, someone's got to drop a house on Magnus. Do I need to buy a Magnus model and buy an HO scale house and do a piece of terrain where Magnus has been hit by a house? Because I think that would be super sweet. And then have then on the battlefield you have a one of those vortexes, the Age of Sigmar vortex living spell, and you could have Dorothy and Toto sitting on top of it. Yeah,
we are a narrative podcast. Okay.
Yeah, super cool. Super cool. So I repainted all my Ludas, and I added 5 Ludas to my team. So I've got 24 Ludas now, which is a lot of Ludas. I could probably do with one more. I took some of the plastic orcs I had, some of the second edition plastic orcs, and I had some second edition heavy weapons. So so I have 3 or 4 second edition style Ludas in there as well, and those all went on 32s. And then I busted out all my tank bustas, repainted all the red to blue, and put them on 32 millimeter bases. So I have a pants load of tank busters. I have a lot of tank busters now. It's I think I have almost 30. Something like that. Something like 30 tank busters. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good. I ain't rebasing my boys though. I'd rather die.
No, there are certain hills that you don't need to die on.
Yeah, that is definitely one of them. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that I believe is my actual hobby progress. Jason, what have you been doing in the hobby?
Okay, so just so the listeners know, we do notes, and at times my notes for myself for this are really good, and sometimes they're not. So let's see what happens. All right, so I've been building a lot lately. I've been my work schedule through the month of November and December was about 3 to 4 days a week of 14-hour days, and then some other long days. So I never really had a chance to sit down and paint much, but I built a lot because I could come in at night, build for half an hour, and be relaxed enough to sleep. So I built a lot. Let's see here. So I'm going to do a Thousand Suns army, and it'll be one of those that's both a 30k and a 40k army. It's going to be very ornate, like everyone will be. So it's got that 30k feel. I'm painting him. Okay, so you know the candy apple red scheme for the Thousand Suns? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that.
Oh.
Let's
I mean, goodbye.
Let's see what happens, shall we? No, I haven't tested it yet, but I've got the paints. I have the technique. I know how to do it. Just I need to do it.
We have the technology.
But I built the Tzeentch Getting Started box. I ordered a second Getting Started. Well, hold on. So I ordered one of the Battle Force Christmas boxes, but because of GW's scarcity, I guess, of offering.
Oh yeah, that's been really bad, dude. That has been so bad. Like, I'm surprised our store was able to get some. Like, they were able to fulfill people's orders and have a few extra, but that's it. It's done.
Well, I had ordered mine, and I was basically told, "Yeah, you're not getting it. But here's what we'll do: we'll give you credit plus 10%. You know, so that wasn't too bad." So I ordered
cool.
a box of Rubric Marines and the Getting Started box for Tzeentch and 1,000 Sun data cards, and there was something else, maybe some flamers or the flying manta ray looking things. Can't remember. But something
Seekers? No. We are terrible.
Yeah, someone right now, one of our listeners is yelling this at the radio, so thank you.
But the flying manta ray evil guys.
Yeah. So anyways, I ordered a bunch of Tzeentch stuff and some 1,000 Sun stuff, and I'm going to run it off the narrative of basically an exalted sorcerer or two that have just lost it. You know, they're just there's only a couple of rubrics. There's like one rubric squad, maybe two, but everything else is demons, because I think that would be an interesting narrative to try, you know, see what happens. So let's see. So I've got that, been building them, put some paint on them, but not more than just kind of base coating or zenithal priming. I did start working on a Death Guard army for 30k, not 40k, but 30k. And that's been pretty nice because I've been doing the old bone style, so it gives me a chance to work on that white with the airbrush, because it's white, but it's kind of a bone color, but there's some interesting highlights. So that's been quite a bit of fun. Let's see. Hold on, I'm just going through my list. Sorry, I picked up the Egyptian green stuff roller. Yeah, from
I need to get one of those. Not like the Egyptian one, but I need to get like a couple of rollers for different things.
Yeah, that roller is awesome. I think it's Green Stuff World or Green Stuff World Industries or something like that. It is so cool. It came in the mail yesterday, and I will be honest, I stayed up kind of late last night and baked Sculpey until like 3 in the morning. That's awesome. Which is why when you texted me, "Hey, do you want to start earlier?" I was like, "I'm still asleep, dude." But it's fun. The stuff is really crisp. The detail, you know, it's some really great stuff. I wish he kind of offered a second one, just so I could have a variety. But it's pretty cool. I do dig it. Nice. Let's see. Blackstone Fortress, I built it. I haven't had a chance to paint it yet, just because of, you know, how things have been going. Yeah, man, my notes are like completely out in left field here. Now I'm at Sculpey bases. So, as some of y'all know, I have these Zone Mortalis bases that. How do I explain these Zone Mortalis bases? They're a lot of work and self-hatred. Do you think that's right?
I think that sounds like a good like description.
Yeah. And it's actually kept me from wanting to build and paint stuff, because I look at those bases and go, no, I don't feel like doing it. No, thank you. So what I'm going to do instead is start doing some Sculpey bases. I picked up Sculpey the other day, and I've been playing with it, trying to figure out how I can create an interesting basically an interesting basing scheme that's I'm not going to use that word again. That is reminiscent of the area in Oklahoma where my family's from. A lot of red rocks, a lot of slate, a lot of rust and iron in the soil. So, nice reddish base, and it'll go against some of the other stuff I'm doing.
That's cool.
All right, so that's Sculpey bases. Orcs. All right, we're getting there. I promise we're getting to the end of my notes here. I did pick up 2 of the Speed Freaks boxes. I've decided that my orc army is going to be just mobile. That's what I want. I'm doing Death Skulls also because as a Blood Raven player, I think that I should be picking up things. Whatever. So I've got those 2. I started building one of the boxes 2 nights ago. I'm going to keep working on that this weekend. I built the Defkilla Wartrike. Dude, that model is awesome. That is, I built it according to the plans because I always build the first one according to plans, and everything else is, okay, that was nice. Let's have some fun. So we'll see what happens with the next one I get. Let's see. Last thing before I get into games. There we go. Jump packs. I bought a bunch of jump packs from Anvil Industry. Have you seen these packs?
I think I saw them in your... Didn't you post them?
Yeah, I posted them.
Yeah.
They look a lot like the Assault Squad and the Vanguard Vet Squad packs.
Uh-huh.
But they look bulkier, but they're about the same size, and they might even be a touch smaller. But they look really cool, and I went through and started putting them on Mark III Marines, which those guys look kind of bulkier anyway because of the way their armor is built. And
right, they have a lot of overlapping
cool,
folds,
actually.
right?
So I think I'm going to go ahead and do about... I don't know how many I'm going to do. And I don't know if I'm going to put them have them for the Raven Guard or for maybe the Death Guard army or some other army.
Orcs or...
So we'll see, but I'm enjoying building them. They've been fun.
Or orcs.
Or
Storm Boys.
Oh, they would be really good for Storm Boys.
Right?
Yeah.
I have a good 15 or 16 Storm Boys that use Space Marine jump packs. They're great.
These things are really, really cool. It's one of those
They're
things I look
probably
at and
too
go,
cool to waste on that, though.
I might... well, I don't want to say how many I picked up because I picked up a lot because I wanted free shipping.
Oh.
God, did I really do that? Yeah, I did. Well, whatever. I could be embarrassed about other things. That's cool. So I think that's it on, hobby progress and whatnot.
Nice.
Well, hold on. Do I talk about the airbrush class? Because I want to release a prototypes episode, but should I talk about the airbrush here or wait till the next segment?
Well, you could say how much fun it was.
Okay, yeah. I took the 102 class with CK Studios, the airbrush class. I loved it. I had fun. I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot very quickly. And I think I'll save the rest for the prototypes episode.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would really like to have them come here for us, but I don't know how many people I would, because I think you need at least 15 or 16. I
think it's 15
to make it worthwhile. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. I'll think about it. So as far as activities, I've had a lot of activities. I got back from Cruise Hammer. And that was super fun. I love cruising. Cruising's so great. It's really wonderful. I love being out and not having to worry about anything and have people treat you like royalty. It's pretty super good. I thought I was going to come back heavy, and I came back the same weight I was when I left. So that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And I played a bunch of games. I played some 40K. I played some Age of Sigmar. I played the Game of Thrones board game. That game is super fun.
Really?
That game is super duper fun. Yeah, I really like that. That was I want to pick that up. That I just was reminded of that. I need to write that down. Game of Thrones BG. Yeah, it's a map conquest game. It's like, and you play as each of the houses. It's pretty good.
Right.
And there's a lot of backstabbing as you would expect from that game.
Yeah, I would hope. Well, I would expect so. In fact, I would. Yeah.
I've played some Speed Freaks. That's pretty fun. I have yet to play the big ruck where you where it's basically a rally race around a double-sized battlefield.
Right.
So I definitely want to do that. It's really cool. You place a bunch of objectives down and you have to go to each objective, like pretty much like any racing game where you have to fly through the rings and stuff.
Yeah.
I'd really like to play that. I think some of us are gonna do that. Some of the Queensberry guys wanted to try that.
Now
that I have my squig buggy painted, I'm down to clown there. Then I went to the Boys GT a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I messaged, since it was before the Orc Codex was allowed.
Right.
Like the Orc Codex had come out like a week before, so you can't. The cutoff is 10 days. You can't allow it.
Right.
But as much as that, that doesn't upset me. I don't mind that. As a tournament organizer, I understand the need for that. But I still also didn't want to play with the old Orc Codex, so I offered to be like a pivot man. I would play Age of Sigmar if they had an extra spot and they had a wait list for 40K. And they did. They had a wait list for 40K and not for Sigmar, so I switched over to Sigmar.
Okay.
And I played 5 games of Sigmar.
Uh-huh.
I def went 1-4, so that was great.
20%, baby. 20%.
Or 2 and 3. I think I went 2 and 3 actually. Whatever, I did badly. Like there's that game is weird because like unlike in 40K in Age of Sigmar, there are definitely situations like you can have a regular game where you're outmaneuvering each other and whittling each other down, and it comes down to like who has the most points and whatever.
Right.
But sometimes there is some crazy stuff in that game that just happens, and it's crazy. Like the Bloodthirster has this ability that if he rolls a 6 to wound with his axe,
yeah,
he does 3 mortal wounds to everything within 9 inches.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah, which can be pretty crazy. But it gets even crazier when you put a buff on him that gives him a +1 to wound. So, like, he assaulted me and did 9 mortal wounds to my entire army, and all of my stuff was dead in a giant pile, and I was super sad. And, I was like, that's pretty crazy. He's like, he's never done that before. And I'm like, yeah, well, now's your opportunity.
That is crazy.
He made it up to me because he got me drunk, so that was cool.
I don't know. There's a joke about Tito's in there that I'm not gonna start.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Mike stayed with me that weekend. He was just he was hanging out. Almost nobody went. It was me, Mike, and Brandon.
Yeah.
Brandon was there. He played 40. He did well in 40K. But yeah, I've had a hard time getting people to come out with us, which is super sad.
Yeah.
But I had a nice time. Then I've had some games. I've played against Bill. I played a game against this dude Alex, who he usually doesn't have a chance to come to the store, but he brought his Necrons, and so that was cool. I haven't seen him since we did a Age of Sigmar, like the first opening day of Age of Sigmar 2.
I think I might have met that guy.
Yeah, I had a fun game with Alexis last weekend. I've had a bunch of games. I went to the Portal and went to the Portal tournament. I went 1-4 there. That was a sound drubbing, but it was weird because the only game I won was against Lucas and his like 2 Primarch, 2 Imperial Knight, and Armiger list. Like,
yeah, that list. I saw that.
I killed Mortarion in turn 1.
Rad.
That was weird. That has never happened before. It's, the orc shooting is gross. Like, it's the way I was doing it wasn't even competitive. It was, but it still was able to do that. So that was really interesting. I don't know. This time of year, I'm getting kind of tired of matched play, so I'm looking forward to Golden Sprue coming and going back to trying to find people to do narrative games with, because I'm just tired. I'm tired of just playing like points and minutes, every little thing, every little detail, trying to eke it out, and I'm like, ugh, I just hate it. So I'm done with it.
Yeah, I understand. I remember, when I was still living up there, when we do tournament prep. And by the time the tournament happened, I was just like, I've had it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Guys, go do something goofy, please.
Yep. Yeah. People online are off. Like, I think, when they announced that the looted wagons were going to be in chapter approved for open play and narrative play only, people were upset. Nobody plays power level. I'm like, yo, dude. Many people play power level.
I love playing power level. I adore it.
Yeah, I hate sitting there trying to squeeze around all these points and stuff. It's a pain in the neck.
My thing is that, I really kind of go with the quote-unquote rule of cool. It's like, I like how that weapon looks. That's what I'm building. And I think I can paint it well. And then it's like, that's whatever. I'm like, ugh. So, and plus, the nice thing is that whenever I'm putting together the, like, I have a whole bunch of Vanguard vets. You've seen them with all the power.
Those are
power
freaking
claws.
awesome.
Huh?
They're awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks. But I have all those power claws, and then having to go through and add all that in Battle Scribe to get those points is a nightmare because, Vanguard vets come automatically with the bolt pistol and the chainsword in Battle Scribe. It's like, I'm playing Raven Guard, and this is going to take me 30 minutes just to add all those jerks. So, yeah. I love
fit
power.
This or that?
I love the points or the power level. That's what I love. Yep. So, but that's just me being
kind
of lazy.
I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to be going for my baby moon. Wendy was super nice and bought me a plane ticket to California, to San Francisco. I'm going to hang out with
Carl and the guys.
Carl, Justin, Jason, and all those other guys. We're going to have a Christmas Warhammer party at Carl's house. And
that's cool. I'm
really looking forward to a whole bunch of power level gaming. We're also going to be playing some Blood Bowl, I think.
Yeah.
And now, I might suggest that I might throw down the hammer and play a match play game with Justin, maybe. But,
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to just playing some casual games, busting out the open war deck, and getting a bunch of fun games in. That's going to be so great.
Well, that open war deck is so much fun. I just, I've played a couple of games with it the last 3 months or so, and every time I play, I'm just like, this is so much better, and I remember things there, because if I do book missions, I won't remember them unless I've played the mission like a billion times. Right.
So yeah, I'm just like, I really like it. It is some of the deployments are a little crazy. Like, you get really close.
Oh,
and
yeah.
If I had my choice, I would do a narrative mission, but the open play deck is super great for just throwing down and having a quick game.
Well, with all of my all my jump pack, Lightning Claw guys, I like to get up close and personal. You know, I've got all the hugs to give.
Right. So going forward, hobby-wise, I've been working on a bunch of Age of Sigmar terrain. I have to buckle down and do more. I think we already have enough Warhammer, enough 40k terrain, but I'm working on Age of Sigmar terrain that the store was able to get thanks to GW's gracious terrain policy. We've got about, for Golden Sprue, they gave us about $1,000 worth of prize support. So that, in addition to the money we're collecting from fees, we should have over about $2,000 in prize support. I am like taking out 300 of it this time to buy mats for the tournament going forward.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I'm kind of sick of like trying to figure out some, let's cobble, everything together from what everybody has, and let's just have some mats set aside for tournaments, for events. And then if I ever decide I don't want to do it anymore, I'll just hand it off to whoever picks up the torch. So that's what I'm working on, folks. Please check out Golden Sprue Cup if you're interested in coming down for some games. Generally, we do the first. Generally, it's a 5-day tournament, but you're welcome to drop at any time and play casual games. I have a lot of people who don't continue in the tournament day 2. Instead, they do open play games. Yeah. So we'll have kind of an official open play area for people who want to do open play on day 2.
That'd be a good idea. So last year there was all sorts of fun. Like, I wasn't there, but I saw Mike and Phil were doing some sort of armored tank thing, and John, it was some U.S. versus Canada thing. Yeah. I don't remember who the other Canadian was though.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. And the American Legion hooks us up. They do a really good job of hooking us up. There's table service. There's a bar, cheap bar. People love that. And we do have a reduced rate at one of the local hotels. One of the nicer hotels. It's like $90 a night. So
that's cool. Out. So it's not all no-tell, motel, rent by the hour.
Oh yeah, there's the closer ones are, but they're super gross.
Yeah, well.
So Jason, what have you been up to?
All right, so games. So yeah, like I said, I've been kind of busy this semester, but for some reason, I keep getting games outside of where I live. Like I keep going up to San Antonio to see friends and whatnot, or to do stuff, and so I end up getting more games at a store that's 4 hours away than the store that is literally 15 minutes from my house. So I'm going to change that this year, I promise. So first of all, I played against our buddy Mike, our Eastern Canadian correspondent, our Toronto correspondent, Ontario. I don't know. He and I were having this discussion, but he drove through Texas because he likes to drive, and that's kind of crazy. But hey, that's him. And we both brought Zone Mortalis lists. His list went to Disneyland with him and his family, and that was really cool. And he'd shown pictures of it was an Ultramarines list. Very beautifully painted, Horse Heresy. Oh, it's a Horse Heresy game. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Very beautifully painted Horse Heresy era army. Looked great. Breachers. Something that really screamed Zone Mortalis. And then I brought my Raven Guard, which my Raven Guard is built off of the Zone Mortalis idea, and so yeah, it's got Mordathan. It's got big tactical blobs and whatnot, just to do some of those things. And so that was a really fun game. It was kind of a slugfest. It finally got down to, I think both of our Contemptors had been killed. And it was like, I think I had a 12-man tactical squad, 12-ish, that had close combat weapons, so it had an extra attack per assault phase. versus like 7 or 8 breachers. And so I would have won that game, but we both looked at it and went, that's going to take like 3 or 4 turns to, get through that pillow fight. We're calling a draw. But it was great because, his stuff is beautifully painted. He's a lot of fun to play against. I brought my my weird Inquisition Ordo Chronos minis with me, and so I took pictures of them observing the fight.
The voyeurs.
Yeah, the voyeurs.
The
yeah,
voyeurs.
Like for those of you who don't know, I've got this Inquisition Ordo Chronos list that I've been building slowly and painting. It's actually really well painted. It's not very big, but it's well painted. There's probably a phrasing in there somewhere. I'm not sure. Anyways, I will bring them to games and just have them there watching. It's almost as like holograms, just to go through and kind of further the narrative of that Ordo Chronos group. So anyways, that was a fun game. I had a great time. While we were there, we were playing at a place called Court of Gamers in San Antonio, which is right to the CK Studios class. And they sell a lot of used minis. Like, people bring stuff in, I didn't paint it or whatever, and they sell them there. And Mike walked over and noticed that there were 5 Grave Warden Terminators from the Horus Heresy, 5 resin guys. He's like, you know what, I think I'm going to buy those. And I sat there for a minute and thought, I've got this Death Guard list that I'm building and painting. And I kind of stood there for a second. I went, okay, fine. I walked over and bought them before he did. So.
Oh, brutal.
So, hold on. So, Lisa, which is Mike's wife, I saved you money. But yes, I did buy them before he did. Actually, he's so nice, I was afraid he was going to buy them for me, so I got through that before he did. But they're pretty cool. I haven't had a chance to paint them yet because I haven't painted much, like I said, in November. So that was the first game I had. I then played a game versus John T. I don't know if I should say his last name. And well, he's
probably
on the
not,
IC.
but
yeah,
I know
John,
who you're talking about.
Yeah, John T. Yeah, he's on the Independent Characters Facebook group. He's pretty active there. And he and I did the CK Studios thing with a whole bunch of other people. Nick, the other Jason, there's always another Jason. Mike from RFI. There's another guy from RFI, and I can't remember his name. And a bunch of other people who did the CK 101 before with us. Anyways, John and I played a Necron versus Raven Guard army, which was really fun. A lot of fun. I think he was. He brought a much more competitive list than I brought because I'm just at the point where it's like I just want to do power level, but I came up with points. One of my sergeants made a stupid amount of saves. Like, it was dumb.
Nice. So the opposite, was it the same sergeant that survived our game?
Yeah, it was. It was one of those more Dathan combi flamer sergeants. Yeah, it was great.
Give that man a purity seal.
Okay, yeah, it made a stupid amount of saves. I'm thinking, great, I'm gonna have to go through and upgrade this guy's paint scheme. That's all I could think of the entire time. I was like, can you please kill him before I have to paint him something better? Can you throw some like AP2 or AP4, please? Come on. So, yeah, it was I think it's the exact same mini. Okay. Sorry. But I had a lot of fun with that game. And it turned narrative real quick because I had weird rolls and it was amazing. But it was really cool to see his Necron's beautifully painted army. It's always nice to play against an army that someone has some incredible conversions. He had, not Archons. One of his HQs was actually converted from that, one of the Mechanicus Magos. I don't remember which one it is. The one that has like it looks kind of like a Flamer of Zange because of the way that the legs are built. But he had built it as a Necron, and it was an incredible conversion. I actually looked at it and did not realize it was a conversion until I thought, I don't think I've ever seen that mini before. And then I realized where it came from. So I was really impressed with that one. That same night, I played Blackstone Fortress because that was like one of the first nights that anyone could play it, and I loved that stupid game.
Yeah, it was. The game is super fun,
dude. The mechanics on there for the NPCs. I mean, that's it's a D20 die. I guess we're going into gaming more than anything else. Whatever. This should be in the prototypes episode. Yeah. I'm going to talk anyway. I love the mechanics on there. There's a D20. You have all these action points and whatnot, and all these different weightings and whatnot, and various ready states. So as I was looking at that, I'm trying to play this game, and I'm sitting there studying the cards, going, "That's really cool. That's a great idea." And it kind of. Whatever, that distracted me. I do love the sculpts. My favorite is the Eldar sculpt, which is amazing because I don't want to play Eldar.
Right.
But that sculpt is just incredible. I haven't had a chance to paint it, but I have built it. So, yeah I think that's basically my... Oh, hold on. Yeah, I did play the Eldar in that game. We got through it. We played one game. It was like a beginning game trying to figure the thing out, so... I do have it. You can play as a one-player game or multiple players, so I'm going to run through it a few times so I can get it together before I start bringing in other people.
Right. I am. We played it the one time for the prototypes episode, and I was pretty impressed with it. Some of the other guys have played it.
Yeah.
In addition, and it seems it's a fun game. I really like it, and I'm definitely going to be next year, if the baby lets me, I will be working on my Rogue Trader army.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go. I mean, I've talked about it in the past. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail right now because I'll probably be talking about it all year next year.
Yeah.
But
I have that suspicion as well.
Yeah, but those models are super cool, so
yeah.
Super happy to have that.
Oh, those Trader Guard models.
Yeah,
that just made someone's life amazing. Those are.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, all those sculpts are incredible. They all are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, those are super great. A lot of people have been waiting for something like that.
Yeah.
For a long time. So. All right, cool. So,
you want to do Beyond the Fringe right now?
Beyond the Fringe.
Yeah.
Beyond the Fringe.
Go for it.
I've been playing Frostgrave.
Yeah.
Frostgrave is... I've been playing with my buddy Mike. And if you want a game that's, like, miniature agnostic, like you can use whatever miniatures you want.
Yeah.
Frostgrave is your game.
It looks like it. It looks pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of people talk about it on, generic gaming podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard a lot talk about it in the 40K realm.
Yeah.
You play in a 3-foot battlefield, and it's densely packed.
Okay.
And it's based on fighting in this city that's frozen. And it's got a lot of like treasures and stuff. It's very similar in story to Shadespire, actually.
Okay.
So it's you go through. You're playing a wizard, who has a team, like a war band of thugs who are trying to collect this treasure. And it's D20 based, so there's a lot of variance in the dice rolls.
Yeah.
So it's not meant to be super competitive, but it's a lot of fun. You use whatever minis you want. So like my buddy is playing a necromancer, and he's using some of our D&D miniatures and some other stuff.
Oh, cool.
I'm using some old D&D orc miniatures for mine.
Yeah.
And it works really, really well. So I'm super happy. Like I'm playing this witch doctor, so I'm using this old like D&D chainmail witch doctor model as my wizard, and so it's super fun. I really like playing that game.
That sounds cool. I did pick up the manual for that and read it while I was I didn't read all of it, but I read quite a bit of it while I was at the airport. Man, it does look cool. It looks a lot of fun. The I don't know. I kind of like the necromancy idea. So
Yeah, it's really cool.
Let's see. So for my Beyond the Fringe, I'm going to go with a little bit of a hat trick here: Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, and Spaceballs.
Well, yeah.
Wait, is my Beyond the Fringe Mel Brooks?
Yes, your Beyond the Fringe is Mel Brooks.
Okay, so let's go ahead and make it a little bit easier. It's Mel Brooks. One of my students the other day made some comment that sounded like it was from Blazing Saddles. Like he said, in the game of life, and I looked at him and said, Mongo's just a pawn? And he stared at me. He didn't know what I was talking about, which made me very, very sad. Because he was going to tell me a joke, and I said, you cannot tell me this joke until you go and watch Blazing Saddles. So I'll see you in a couple of days. And so, because I only work on that campus twice a week. And so I saw him a couple of days later. He had not finished watching Blazing Saddles because I think he watched like the first 30 minutes, then rewound it and watched it again.
Right, because like, did they really just do that? Is that really a thing that they just did?
Yeah, and he adored it. He loved it. So I said, all right, well, if you like that, and you have a lot of free time now that the semester's over, you should also watch Young Frankenstein. And so he's going to watch that sometime the next week or so. He hasn't messaged me on Facebook with any quotes about rolling in the hay yet, but who knows?
Hey, whatever he needs to get that A, right?
Well, he's not even in my class, so he's one of my advising students.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so nothing fun like that. Let's see what else. I wrote down community because 40K community because really knowing people in the gaming community that I can talk to or go and have a game in San Antonio with or whatever, that's a good thing. And I like that, even though at times the community can be terribly annoying with wishing that Orktober was all orcs every single day, even then, it's still like, well, it's the community. We can sit there and talk about this nerdy stuff that other people would not understand. So,
yeah,
I do think
it is a nice respite, right?
So what?
It is a nice respite.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not work. It's not crazy family stuff. It's a place that we can all go and talk about something that we all love, which seems to be this goofy dice game where we, yell pew pew and shoot me up, dude. Which sounds really horrible now that I've said that. Oh well.
Awesome.
All right. So shall we
cool.
go off to the Unification Wars? Wait, have we even told listeners what we're doing this time?
No.
Oh, okay. You want to do that?
Unification Wars. So, yeah, we are doing a proper topic this time. It's we're going to be talking about everything I could find about the Unification Wars, which actually it's so scattered. Like, this is one of the things, like, we're not a dedicated just lore-based podcast for a reason, because this is the kind of topic where you need to have read like every Horus Heresy book and like you need to know everything in order to figure out and piece all this stuff together, because there are a lot of sources.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So
you had to go and look at what was it, the original Lost in the Dam book, the Slaves to Darkness book.
This stuff
you're asking me.
Multiple Black Library novels have these tiny little tidbits in them, and it's like, wow. So we're gonna do our best to talk about the lore behind the Unification Wars and what we actually know about what happened, and then we're gonna go into gaming in the Unification Wars. We have some suggested ways of representing that on the tabletop, but we are always welcome to your own interpretations and your own ideas to improve what we work on. So please, keep that in mind as you're listening, and jot down any ideas you might have and send them to us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com. But yeah, first let's have some messages, and then we'll talk about Unification Wars in the lore.
Hey Archons, tired of the boring predictability and efficiency of stuff that always works? You need the Slip Party Bus! Got an extra 473 points that you can't find a solid use for? You need the Slip Party Bus! You could spend 420 points on 3 reliable Lance Ravagers pumping out 9 Darkland shots per turn. That'll only give up 3 victory points, or you can drop 473 points on 2 Archons, 8 Slip, and a Raider for 11 victory points. You need the Slip Party Bus! The classic Slip Party Bus. Still awesome. Party Bus! Still hilarious. Party Bus! It's the Slip Party Bus! If you love the Slip Party Bus, you'll want to check out our other exciting products. We have the Rack Wiffle Ball Bat, the Trueborn, and the Blood Bride. Trueborn and Blood Bride models no longer available. The classic Slith Party Bus, still awesome, still hilarious. It's the Slith Party Bus!
Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 Hour a Night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det er ikke ei bikkje, det er en slags ting. Den imiterer ei bikkje, men det er ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said.
Welcome back. So, thanks for sticking in with us. That was a really long intro, but I think everybody expected us to have a pretty long intro after being away for so long.
Yeah.
Unification Wars. So around M23 or so, Earth was, as we all know, this is all old news to us, we've talked about it before, Earth was plunged into a time of this sociological regression called the Age of Strife, which lasted about 7,000 years.
Wow.
Humanity had been on the rise for quite some time and had spread throughout the galaxy. Their downfall can be attributed to several factors. A robot uprising by men of iron killed millions, and an upsurge in human-born psychers corrupted several worlds. But the nail in the coffin was the birth of Slaanesh, the effects of which are felt to this day. Of course, this is old news. Like I said, we've discussed it lots of times, but it bore mentioning.
Yeah. Although humanity eventually prevailed against the men of iron, in fact, we only see one mini of them for them in Blackstone Fortress, which is kind of a rad mini, but I'll stop doing that. The world was left to ruin and isolated.
Did you see someone equated, Jason? Did you see that someone equated that mini to the robot from Black Hole?
Yeah. I think I saw someone mention that, but it's funny, I haven't seen Black Hole in a long time. Yeah, we'll say that. And that, yeah, I can see that. I completely see that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I need to go back and watch that movie again. Get some ideas.
It's so cool. The giant Baroque starship, there's just so much great about that movie. There's also so much that's not great about that movie, but sometimes Disney hits a bullseye, and I think that's one of the times when Disney hit the bullseye. Yeah. Sometimes they're off of the mark a lot, but Black Hole, I think, especially when it comes to their live action stuff. But I think Black Hole really hit the mark, and I think there's some things in Black Hole that very much inform Warhammer 40,000. I think I would put that in with Event Horizon as one of those movies that actually kind of informs the world of 40K, but for different reasons.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, because that's... You think about the guys that designed all this stuff, they're going to be a little bit older than we are.
Yep.
You know, they're probably teens, most of them, whenever Black Hole was released, or maybe their early 20s. And yeah, I can see that movie might have a big influence on the game. So I'll have to go back and watch that again. It's been, like I said, I don't remember the last time I watched it. Actually, I do. I was at my grandmother's house, so I don't know when that would have been because she's still alive. So. But yeah. All right. Where was I? Oh yeah, we were talking about the cool dude. Men of Iron. All right. So, although humanity eventually prevailed against the Men of Iron, the world was left a ruin and isolated from the rest of the Imperium by terrible warp storms, which were the hallmark of the Age of Strife. During this period, the Long Night, on Terra, human culture devolved into barbarism, because that's kind of what happens. Humanity fractured into warring states, which tore at each other's throats, gobbling up territory, resources, and technology as fast as they could. If you've read a lot of the Horus Heresy stuff, that, like Adam had mentioned, he's having to find little snippets from here and there out of hundreds of books, and some of the stuff in here's out. I mean, I can kind of identify some of the books as we talk about it.
This topic would not be possible without all the various and sundry wikis.
No kidding.
It just would not be. I just could not do it.
Yeah. All right, so great wars were fought in the name of survival, and as always, such desperate wars resulted in horrific casualties. The warring states implemented doomsday weapons such as chemical, virus, and atomic bombs because, sure, that's where we get the rad weaponry, I'm assuming, that shows up in the Horus Heresy. Individual battlefields were carpeted with corpses numbering in the millions or even billions. In time, Earth became a scarred, post-apocalyptic hellscape littered with the heaped skeletons of the dead. The oceans were largely vaporized, and much of the world became an empty, arid wasteland, where lonely, ragged, war-torn standards fluttered in the rad-tainted breeze. If you read some of the... What was it? There's a Horus Heresy book I read recently that discussed, how Earth just didn't have water anymore. That one of the... I think it might have been the New Corax book. They were talking about the Marianas mountain range, which that's the trench in the Pacific Ocean. It was like, oh, yeah, that's right. And then that the water for the planet is essentially in these underground cisterns. That's where everything is. And it's just kind of a terrifying way to think of how things, have progressed in this story.
Yeah, it's really interesting, like Earth. If you imagine the beginning of Terminator 2 Judgment Day mixed with Mad Max, that's the world you're looking at. It's just this terrible hellscape of war and death. But it is interesting. It is mentioned that, in a way, the warp storms that like blocked us off from the rest of the galaxy may have actually been somewhat beneficial, because it kept some of the other warp beings at bay. It's really interesting. So when the silt of humanity kind of settled, what remained was about as appealing as what remained of Earth itself. Humanity was broken, both in body, mind, and spirit. The scattered remains of our culture kind of struggled to remain relevant on Earth's parched hellscape. Solitary wanderers, nomadic tribes crisscrossed the wastes, foraging for resources. Charismatic warlords consolidated their power, dominating what remained of the world's manufacturing and agricultural base. So there was still, I mean, life would not continue if you didn't have some kind of agriculture.
Yeah.
And there was still some, and there was still these auto manufactorums and stuff that were still working really hard to produce certain things. The warlords held on to power by whatever means necessary. There were these brutal despotic regimes. And while they can be credited with holding humanity together during the long millennia of this time period, the means by which this was made possible cannot be ignored or applauded.
Yeah.
These shaky bastions of humanity became known as the Techno Barbarian tribes. And while the title of Techno Barbarian is both apt, it's also a misnomer. Generally, these states were sociologically backward and brutal in their execution of discipline, but they also possessed enough talent to maintain the technology required to keep the people alive through the long night and do battle with neighboring warlords. The Techno-Barbarians went to war using gear left over from the age of technology. Flyers still crisscrossed the sky, dropping terrible payloads, powerful handheld weapons, vivisected enemy troops by the dozens. Warriors went to battle encased in strength-enhancing power armor, which could pulp a common soldier with a single punch. As such, war never ended on Terra during the long night.
Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. You know, the idea of the power armor, and I guess we're going to talk about the Thunder Warriors at some point soon.
Yep.
In fact, I might have just highlighted it. What the audience doesn't get to see is that you've added all these really cool pictures in our notes from. I'm guessing these look like these are definitely they look like Blanche.
These are Blanche.
Drawings.
These are John Blanche drawings. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, you know. I'm friends with him on Facebook, and that just, like, warmed my little heart. I didn't know that, you know, being friends with someone would do that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his stuff is always amazing. Everything he posts is kind of obnoxious. But then again, I like his art style. Some people do not.
His art style is really nice, and I like his miniature painting style is very much like his art style.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really like it. When I paint miniatures, I do something very similar. It's very like get the paint on the miniature and just slop it on and fix where you need to, but not where you don't need to, you know. And his stuff looks very organic, and I like it a lot.
Well, his kit bashing is obnoxiously good.
Legendary work.
Yeah, just amazing stuff. Okay, sorry. Now that we've now that we've sent our love letter to John Blanche, call me. All right, next up. But we digress. This episode's about the Wars of Unification, which have also been called the Unity Wars, the Unification and the Unity. This is a period of time when the Emperor of Mankind finally decided to reveal himself to humanity, or at least as his current incarnation, and lead us all to a peaceful future prosperity and reason where humanity would take its place among the, as the dominant culture in the galaxy. Hashtag winning, hashtag make humanity great again, hashtag what could go wrong, hashtag profanity removed. Yeah, there we go. Because I don't feel like bleeping. All right, so the Unification Wars then begin sometime in the 29th millennium as the Age of Strife warp storms begin to abate. The story of these wars is basically the story of how the Imperium of Man began. The Emperor's been planning a takeover for millennia. The old sourcebook, Realms of Chaos, The Lost and the Damned, has some extremely interesting things to say about the Emperor and how he came to be. According to that text, at one time, the warp was like a calm sea, and the shamans of old Earth could ply the waters there without worry of demonic incursion. I'll get that word. When those waters become troubled, their connection to the warp became weaker, and their ability to reincarnate or resurrect themselves diminished. With their own end in sight, they poured their power into one final reincarnation as one being, the Emperor, who was born to human parents somewhere in Central Asia in the 8th millennium. So he's been around for a while.
Yeah, you gotta keep in mind, like, the voice and audience of all those histories the veracity of those facts need to be taken with a grain of salt, because all the writers of Games Workshop have warned us that every book that they put out is written with a voice.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who it was. It's something I listened to recently. I think it was Garage Hammer, where they're talking about the old Vampire the Masquerade clan books.
Right.
Each vampire clan had a source book, and each one was written with a different voice, and you would get a different idea of a different truth of each history of what actually happened. And every book says, well, this is what actually happened.
Oh, okay.
And
so it's all
they're
competing.
different. But they'd have different ideas of what actually happened. So there's no one book that tells you what's the truth. Right. So this old Lost in the Dam book, it might be the truth, it might not be. But it is really interesting, and I think I have some I think with my lore for the Star Eagles,
right,
and these old shamans from old Earth and how they were able to reincarnate themselves by surfing the warp and stuff. I think I have some new ideas of direction to take the lore for the Star Eagles too.
Oh, good.
So I think that'll be, because it makes a lot of sense that maybe they were founded by one or two of those old shamans.
Yeah, that could be a really interesting way to run that. And if I remember right, hold on, your Star Eagles are Raven Guard, possibly descendants, successor chapter. Yeah,
they're successors. They're Raven. They're definitely Raven Guard successors. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But the actual human the humans of the world that they are raised on.
Oh, okay. So maybe they came from refugees.
That, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that could work really well. That could actually work very, very easily.
Yep. So there's no denying, though, that the Emperor was a powerful entity, born to lead humanity into the stars once again, at least in his own mind.
Yeah.
The Emperor walked our war-torn world, speaking of unity and appealing to each person's desire for a better way of life, which is how every despot starts.
Yeah.
As a powerful being with a domineering ego, the Emperor rose to the top of the heap on Terra. One faction after another fell to his vast personality like dominoes. Soon he was marching forth with a host of loyal conscripts and genetically enhanced warriors at his back. He must have seemed like any other powerful ascendant warlord to some of the Techno Barbarians, but his influence was preternatural. Few could resist him. Of course, many of the Techno Barbarian warlords were too steeped in their own greatness to allow an upstart warlord to just take their power. All who opposed the Emperor and his mighty armies were destroyed. For ages, the Emperor had prepared for his coming, and he knew that some warlords could not be reasoned with. First, he had bred an army of regular troops through augmentation and selection. These regiments are now known as the Old 100. Each was formed of 1,000 companies or a brigade. Their commanders, called Uxors, were all unaugmented females who possessed latent psychic ability. They used these abilities to sense the disposition of their troops and conduct them in an efficient manner both on the battlefield and off. For the most part, though, these troopers were used They used conventional weaponry, such as las carbines, flamers, autocannons, and RPGs. Invariably, these forces would eventually be equipped with APCs as the Emperor conquered more and more of the planet, and the Centaur and Scarab transport facilities fell under his control. As for their armor, they wore bulky yet articulated plates with yellow silk capes and adorned with furs and spiked helmets. The Uxors didn't bother with heavy armor and bore a gray cloak upon their backs. I think this comes from a couple of one or two novels by I forgot who, but some of these Old 100 appear in some of the Horus Heresy novels.
Okay.
And they work with the legions later on they join the legions to fight in the crusade.
Okay. I had not seen the Exors lore until I read the notes a couple of weeks ago. I hadn't seen that. I'll have to go check that out. Sounds pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds really interesting. Okay. So here we go now to, of course, the real workhorse of the Unification Wars were the Thunder Warriors. There's something I'm going to mention about that as we get those notes. These were enormous gene-wrought metahumans who the Emperor developed into 20 regiments of, and I'm not bleeping this, badassery. I'm not going to bleep that. There's no way. I'm not going to turn it into a song, but I'm not bleeping it. So anyways, the Thunder Warriors were tougher, stronger, and more savage than the average Astartes. Although there are conflicting histories, many accounts put them on par with the Custodes in fighting ability, though still physically larger, which that's impressive. They used the same fully articulated power armor that the shock troops of the Techno Barbarians utilized. Like the chapters of the Space Marines and the regiments of the Imperial Army, the Thunder Warriors chose to decorate their armor in various ways, but they always emblazoned the lightning bolt of the Emperor on their shoulder pad, marking the Mark I battle plate, the Thunder patterned moniker. Real quick, jump off here. I think it's the newest Space Sharks book from Robbie McNiven. There's, I think one of the guys on the cover has a lightning bolt armor plate, which is,
cool.
Yeah, which is really cool because the Space Sharks are known as being kind of, well, of course, predators, but they're also scavengers. That's part of their lore. So, that's armor from whenever.
So someone might have Mark I Thunder pattern battle plate.
Yeah.
Or at least a shoulder pad.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. The Space Sharks, I'm not calling them Caradons because I can never pronounce it correctly to my own ears. One of the cool things about them is that they are kind of their lore is scavengers, and so you can just raid your bits box for whatever, and it would work, Got a couple of extra, Mark III heads or Mark II, great. Throw it on, some Mark VI body, torso, and, a Mark III set of legs, and it's perfectly fine, And being able to pull bits from, well, they've never really done Mark I bits, so, yeah. But that could be, a lot of fun, a lot of modeling opportunity there. But anyways, let me keep going. Some say the Thunder Warriors were predecessors to the Astartes. This is arguable since little is known of the Emperor's process. It's also possible that Thunder Warriors were always intended to be the simple brute force on the front lines of Terra. It's also possible that Thunder Warriors were an experiment to prove on the Astartes, to make them more sustainable with fewer specialized organs. They possessed a lifespan no greater than your average human, and their incredible physique was often plagued with physical or mental flaws, which had the tendency to crop up at inopportune times, which is kind of terrifying. Individual warriors would eventually be plagued with terrible hallucinations, mental breakdowns, and eventually cancer. Although the Thunder Warriors were similar in many ways to Astartes, they were not. They lacked both the Betcher's gland, which is the one that lets them spit acid, right? Or was that the one that lets them know the history of taste? I can't remember. It's supposed to be a lore guy, and I don't remember this. Anyways, but more importantly, they were missing the progenoid gland, which is the big one. Yeah, that's big. That is, every Space Marine novel talks about the progenoid gland. Seriously, all of them. Yeah. Anyways, after the war, some surviving rogue Thunder Warriors had obtained Astartes glands in order to extend their lives, but these were in the vast minority. But that could make a really interesting modeling opportunity. Maybe
it really couldn't.
Yeah,
yeah.
Maybe you've got. What could you do there? I guess you could take some of these new Primaris models and kind of mess them a little bit and make them kind of look like maybe.
Well, a lot of these guys, the Thunder Warriors, they look very like Centurion-ish.
Yeah.
like Roman centurion. They have the big hat plumes and big shoulder pads and cloaks and stuff. So
yeah, so you could
put
do
some
it. It would
lightning
just
bolts
take a
on
lot
there.
of bits. You know, you'd have to pick them up all over the place.
Of course, later in the war, the Astartes would take and steal the stage. They were not as strong as the Thunder Warriors, nor as numerous as the Imperial Army, but they were resourceful and passionate. We've discussed the Astartes' proficiency in the Unification Wars in the past.
Yeah.
But the most prominent of these stories is that of the Salamanders, who infiltrated the Tempest Galleries and were slain to almost a man, but still succeeded at their goal. Mm-hmm. We discussed that whole thing. The Astartes would well earn their reputation for level-headed tenacity and loyalty. The way the Emperor conducted the Unification Wars on Terra was a template of how he would later execute his Great Crusade, at least in regard to his human conquests.
Yeah.
The Imperial Army would give the warlords of the Techno Barbarians a chance to take the knee to the Emperor and avoid senseless bloodshed. But if they denied him, the Emperor's forces would use whatever means they had at their disposal in order to force a swift military resolution. One extreme example of this is the nation of Auriok, which was a stronghold on the continent we now know as Antarctica. They rode out the long night fairly well. They kind of isolated down in the South Pole. And they really began to believe in their own hype, as if they were blessed by their personal pantheon of gods. The Emperor's Heralds, the 17th Legion we now know as the Word Bearers, were sent to give them the Imperial ultimatum. When the Auriok responded with an artillery bombardment, the Emperor's Heralds busted down the door, stormed in, and killed everyone, sending the message to the rest of the world that idolatry and defiance would not be tolerated.
Oh, that's funny. You almost quoted an Eazy-E tune also. So you actually have like the first few words of one of his raps.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So another example of the Emperor's lack of pity for those who balk at his mercy is the nation of, oh man,
Boeotia.
Boeotia. Yeah, looks like Boeotia. The nation took the knee of the Emperor, and partially due to their very important industrial holdings, he allowed that nation to rule fairly autonomously for over a century, so long as they worked towards full integration. Notice that caveat. Notice that clause in the sentence. Mm-hmm. Instead, the ruling dynasty, also known as worm food, the Tesleti, decided to commit themselves to the arrogant and narcissistic worship of their own ancestors and gave the big finger to the nascent Imperium. I wonder what the Emperor will do. Well, let's see. Boeotia would eventually be reinvaded and pacified by the Imperial Army and the Thousand Sons, because, yeah, here you go. You're going to worship people. We're going to send a bunch of psychers and the Imperial Army at you. Have a nice day. So, while it is unclear whether the Boeotians actually served the ruinous powers, the Emperor was right to be untrustworthy of those who engaged in idol worship. IDOL, not IDLE. At the time, few questioned the Emperor's motives in this regard. He presented his atheistic dogma as a means to raise humanity to a pure and enlightened state where reason would dictate their actions rather than the theistic ramblings of long-dead sycophants. I find that interesting that the Thousand Sons were the ones to invade, and we don't really know if the Boeotians served the ruinous powers. And they hadn't found Magnus. This is way before Magnus.
Yeah, this is before Magnus, and
yeah.
It might be the Boeotians were near the place where the Thousand Sons were raised up, so it might just be a question of location.
Okay.
But of course, as time went on, it slowly became clear that the Emperor was simply desperate to reduce humanity's exposure to the ruinous powers as much as possible for as long as possible. So this is our atheistic dogma is, we're just going to this enlightened state where, everything is going to be based on reason. No, he's not really interested in that. He's just interested in keeping humanity away from this threat that's been the threat he was created by the old shamans to thwart. The true enemy of mankind was always there, biding its time and slowly encroaching into the great works of mankind, even on Terra itself. Oddly, it seems the warp storms during the Age of Strife had actually sheltered Terra from the worst of the hellish influence of the warp. But now it was coming home to roost. The Emperor's endgame had always been to shield humanity from the greatest threat of all, the threat he himself was created to thwart, the ruinous powers. The Primarchs were created to resist them. The Imperium was built to resist them, or at least outlive them. One prominent example of the ruinous powers' influence on Terra was the conflict between the Nordafrique conclaves, and which was eponymously located in the northern Africa, and the state of Ursh, which was based in Central Asia. Beings known as the Primordial Gods made the rulers of those factions their pawns on Terra, granting them mighty powers which allowed them to conquer great swaths of Earth. Kabuka of the Conclaves was able to defeat the mighty armies of Uliam, the Red of Albion, by calling down lightning from the sky. Even so, the despotic warlord Kalgan of Ursh was able to defeat Uliam and enjoy dominion of much of the Eurasian continent and African continents, at least until the coming of the Emperor.
So, the Emperor had Fitz seen to personally empower the warriors of his Thunder Legion, and even some among the earliest Astartes in Imperial army with a kind of psychic shield that manifested as a halo of his psychic influence. This gift was good to use against the Kalgan of Ursh, who was eventually slain, marking one of the Emperor's greatest early victories on Terra. The Warlord's Artificer power armor, the Armor of Pearl, still decorates the vestibule of the Eternity Gate at the Imperial Palace. That's an interesting bit of lore. I remember reading that a couple of weeks ago and thinking, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the early, like all the earlier Astartes and all the Thunder Warriors were kind of blessed, like personally blessed by the Emperor. Like, not everybody who went out on the Crusades got this protection, but because at that point there are just way too many dudes for the Emperor to you know, in a line bless people, and also even some of the people in the Imperial Army were given this protection as well.
That's pretty cool. Some interesting lore. I'm assuming this is probably out of what is The Lost and the Damned or something like that. I've got to go pick up some of those books. I know they're reprinting.
Dude, that Lost in the Damned book, the printed version is $300.
Oh no, I think I'm okay. Yeah. All right. So, of course, there are echoes of what would become problematic for the Emperor, even in the nations who bent the knees without conflict. The Archimedean Empire in the Southwest Asia was a wealthy nation with a superstitious belief in the mystical power of their ancestors. These people were quick to ally with the Imperium, and as such, avoided a costly war. These people were a boon for the Emperor since they were largely blessed with genes that were unscarred by nuclear or chemical influences, which during this time, that's pretty rare. That's almost a unicorn.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yes, here comes my favorite sentence. This made them the perfect candidate for the Astartes project and made up the bulk of the Thousand Sons Legion. Da-da-da! Not gonna let my bias shine through. Okay, here we go. Not all campaigns conducted by the Emperor were quite so superlative. Sometimes war was just war. One of the nations that exemplifies the ancient Techno-Barbarian state was Old Albia. For those of you who are Death Guard players, pay attention. There's a great deal of conjecture about where Albia actually was. Much evidence points to Albia being a reference to the British Isles, but several of these regions in the old lore insist they were the British Isles. It is possible that one of these situations where one must assume lore came from a lack of good research, it must be explained away by declaring the fictional historians to be mistaken, which isn't bad. I mean, all of these books are written from a quote-unquote certain point of view. I had to quote Obi-Wan there, sorry. At any rate, Albia featured towering, soot-blackened cities and a cavalcade of ancient warlike clans. Under the rule of the unspeakable king, they had conquered the Pan-Pacific Empire, then overthrew their ruler, making them bold and not receptive to any other tyrant when the emperor arrived. The Albians met the Thunder Legion with their own army of proto-dreadnoughts and armored Ironside soldiers. That's pretty cool. We don't have your dreadnoughts, but we're going to build our own. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and as the battle raged on, the Emperor saw that his war with Albion was going to cost far too many lives. He called a ceasefire and sought a diplomatic solution. The Emperor appeared before the Albion clan lords, unarmed and clothed in white and crimson, speaking of his vision of a unified mankind. The clan lords of Albia, seeing the Emperor as different from past tyrants, and certainly more appealing than their own warlord, Uliam the Red, who was said to drink the blood of his enemies, accepted his terms and soon became one of the most zealous supporters of unification. The Ironside clans of Albia turned coat and tore down Uliam the Red and installed the Emperor as their new ruler. Many among the Ironside clans were selected as recruits for the Night Lords, Iron Hands, and Dusk Raiders, Astartes legions. There have been some. There must have been. Seems to. The way I read through this, there seems to have been some kind of pleasure taken by the authors in the conquering of Albion.
Yeah.
And there might have been some catharsis involved at that time in tearing down the ruling body of the British Isles. Yeah. There also seems to have been a similar case in the defeat of Cardinal Tang, the ethnarch of the Indonesian bloc.
And not a member of the Spanish Inquisition.
No.
That's Cardinal Tang.
Yes.
Yeah.
This terrible despot executed a brutal eugenics program which resulted in mass genocide, sterilization, and forced breeding. The ethnarch sought nothing less than racial purity in an effort to return humanity to imagined greatness from the age of technology. When the Emperor came, Cardinal Tang fled and hid among the people of his own death camps. One of the people recognized him, and he was torn to pieces by the enraged mob.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually quite a bit of fun. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
I keep having, although every time I see the name Cardinal Tang, I keep thinking of Cardinal Fang from Monty Python, so that's just going to be a cross I bear on this one. Here we go. So, there are many other examples of the campaigns wrought by the Emperor during Unification, and we don't have time to detail them all, and let's be honest, by the time this drops, there will be another piece of lore that is in another short story that is being dropped as part of the Advent calendar, and yeah. Anyways, needless to say, these campaigns, the Emperor, were no less brutal than those executed by the Techno Barbarians that came before them. Battles would last weeks, and millions died as a result. Seeing the writing on the wall, the Barbarian despots unleashed all the mighty ancient technologies they had in hopes of maintaining their grip on power. You know, we have to destroy the village to save the village. These failed, and in doing so, incinerated millions of their own people and cracked the surface of the earth. In time, the final battle was waged on Mount Ararat versus the Kingdom of Ureta. Arcus Tyrannus, the lightning bearer of the Thunder Warriors, scaled the summit and planted the Emperor's standard over his dominion, all of Earth. So, yeah, that's interesting because that's kind of a biblical...
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's kind of a.
It was supposedly the mountain where the Ark landed when the waters of the flood, the Great Flood, were started to recede, right? Yeah. Or no, is that where Moses went to write the Ten Commandments? I forgot.
I don't remember either,
okay, Google.
It's a big callback to earlier lore. Well, not earlier lore.
Okay,
but
Google. Google's not paying attention. Okay, Google. Man.
Google doesn't like me. I'm okay.
Mount Ararat Ark.
Oh, cool. So whenever we decide that, well, we want to know. We are curious, which is why we have this podcast.
Yes. Yes, that it's the Ark story, not the Moses story. Okay, anyways.
Okay, cool.
The worst of the surviving warlords were imprisoned in Kangba Maru, also known as the Vault.
I'm glad you got
this
that
part.
This
is huge underground prison complex on Terra. intended to hold the worst criminals of the Imperium of Man somewhere beneath the Himalayas. Kangba Maru was designed to hold powerful psychers and cunning planners alike, and it's unclear what the current status of the vault is. If somebody knows of a recent story with the vault, let me know, because it doesn't seem like there's been anything mentioned about it recently, which would be really interesting if there are stasis vaults down there that still have some of Earth's most, or like, you know, the Imperium's worst enemies.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if someone let them go?
That could be
publicly,
quite interesting.
Right? Publicly, it was said that the Thunder Warriors were slain to a man in the final battle. In truth, the final few were put down like rabid animals by the Emperor himself. The old 100 regiments of altered humans continued to serve throughout the Great Crusade. This is included in the Geno 5-2 Chiliad, the Lucifer Blacks, and the Infernality Hussars, as well as the Tupolov Lancers. The exploits of these forces are recounted by Dan Abnett in the novels Legion, Prospero Burns, and Blood Games. The Infernality Hussars were detailed in Praetorian of Dorne by John French. Of course, in addition, the Emperor continued his Astartes program to great effect.
Yeah, I need to go back through, and I don't think I've read Blood Games from Dan Abnett. I've read Legion.
I think it's a short story.
Yeah.
It's about don't quote me on that, but it's the story about the custodes.
Okay.
I think.
Oh wait, I might have read that. I know the Lucifer Blacks show up in the big Orc Uprising, the Beast Arises series.
Beast Arises, yeah.
Yeah. Where they talked about how the current Lucifer Blacks are nowhere near as cool as the ones from before. Like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
And they're like the royal guard. They're like the human guardians of the Imperial Palace.
Yeah. All right, so almost done with the notes, and then we'll wander through. The Emperor's most important contribution, however, was in humanely repairing the genetic stock of humanity itself. Throughout the Unification Wars and into the Crusade, he worked tirelessly to clean all the terrible damage done to the human genome throughout the Long Night. What emerged from the ashes of that horrible time was something very closely resembling the pattern of humanity which existed before. So he's working to get back to where they were before, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back.
He considers that his biggest accomplishment. Not the Astartes, not the Thunder Warriors. No, it's fixing the human genome.
Yeah.
Which I find very interesting. Because it must have been difficult to repair that. Like, making something new is one thing, but going back and fixing something that's horribly, horribly broken, that's another thing entirely. Because it's hard to find a pattern by which to mirror,
Yeah, and sometimes, when you are doing work on just anything, this doesn't have to do with humanity, sometimes it's just easier to scrap it and, go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right, so after conquering Luna and brokering a deal with the Tech Priests of Mars, the Unification Wars would draw to a close well into Millennium M30, having lasted around 500 years. The Emperor would celebrate his domination of the Sol System by declaring the start of his Great Crusade, the name he gave his scheme to take back the galaxy for all of mankind and find his lost sons. Hashtag Tiger Blood. Hashtag Keep the Imperium Great Again. Hashtag Profanity Redacted. And hashtag Butts. So, yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So
those are the Unification Wars.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, this is an interesting part of the lore. I'm hoping they start to flesh out this stuff a little bit more. Or maybe not flesh it out, but they're going to continue giving us little cookies, biscuits, whatever, crumbs. There we go, crumbs to keep us interested. Because I don't know if I was a writer, if I would want to jump into this, And right now, what is it? They're working on the Siege of Terra series for the Black Library. The end of the end of the march back to Terra for Horus, and I think they're doing like a novella series or something like that, which I think is a pretty interesting idea. I think that's a good idea. It kind of ties off the Horus Heresy. I'm waiting for a couple of more Horus Heresy novels to be released that kill off some of my favorite characters, and I'm going to be sad, but whatever. I'll be okay.
So, why don't we do this? Why don't we take another quick break, and we're gonna we have some narrative play rules to talk about. We can also talk about other ways of looking at the Unification Wars from a tabletop perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's do a potty break, and come back and do On Your Tabletop.
All right.
Are you looking for a pressure-free hobby Facebook group? Hobby Streak. Are you looking for a community where you can keep your hobby progress on track? Hobby Streak. Do you want a Facebook group that focuses on all aspects of the hobby? Hobby Streak. Hobby Streak is a Facebook group for building, painting, list building, playing games, and everything in between. Hobby Streak. Post daily updates showing or telling about your progress for friendly and helpful support from a great community. Try Hobby Streak today.
Come here, boy, get the ball. Come on, Max, get the ball. Mom, Max won't get the ball. He's lazy.
I think I know why your Zote is being lazy, Jenny.
Why, Mom?
Because you forgot to feed him his Zotabix today.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, Zotabix contains all the nutrients and random animal parts a growing Zote craves. It not only provides our Zote with the energy it needs to play with you and protect our home, but it also keeps its chitinous shell fresh and shiny.
Oh, boy, I'd better feed Max his Zotabix.
Yes, you had.
Zotabix is made in part from grade
Max,
A
time for
Astra
dinner.
Militarum post-engagement byproduct and is infused with 112 essential vitamins
No,
and
Max,
minerals
down.
harvested from your Zote's natural habitat, the finest desert deserts.
Ah!
Zotabix is available in any shopping center on worlds where Zotes are allowed or where the Imperium's inexorable influence has not yet reached.
Welcome back. So, first of all, I think there are a few things in Games Workshop's like gaming portfolio that represent Old Earth already. So, Gorka Morka
Yeah.
is pretty much, if you want to do old pre-Unification Wars stuff, just playing Gorka Morka is fine. Like, that works perfectly.
Yeah.
Get the Dig-a-Knob supplement and just play that. That is basically what you're looking at. The new if you want to do that, you can also do the Speed Freaks game. Actually,
Yeah.
is some of the stuff in there really represents some of that Mad Max style gaming, and that would work fine as well if you're looking for that kind of thing. But you're just going to use different models. You could do that. And I would suggest like taking the rules that we have here and kind of supplementing it with those two games if you really want to. I think that would work perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
You can also add in, some stuff for the Vigilus campaign. The new Vigilus campaign has a bunch of cool, like there's some war zones and battle zones that actually work really well with this system. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's skip. We have a bunch of intro stuff here in the supplement. Let's skip to page 13.
Okay.
We have some special Warzone rules to use in this like rad infested like death environment. I'm gonna start with the primordial dominance objective scoring. So like this special rule, I think makes a lot of sense for a might makes right type situation.
Right.
On the war-ravaged hellscape of the Unification Wars, might makes right. When determining whether a player has control of an objective or not, use this rule instead of the usual rules for holding objectives. To determine if a player has control of an objective, look at the wounds characteristic for all the player's models within 6 inches of the center of that objective and calculate the sum total. The player with the most wounds in that range has control of the objective.
That's pretty cool.
So,
would that be remaining wounds or starting wounds? Sorry that I...
wounds characteristic. So it's a wounds characteristic.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it'd be starting wounds. If you have 5 Thunder Warriors, they still hold the objective over a squad of 10 standard grunts.
Oh, yeah. Okay, definitely. Okay. That sounds like a really cool idea. I like that. That goes with the, your elites and your HQ are now holding, are now objective holders, not just your troops. All right, so...
Yeah, and I think that would be fun with an orc versus orc game as well, I think.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. Just drop a war boss or maybe a knob or something on objective and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so then we have Rad Cloud Environmental Effect. At the start of the game, roll a die, or roll a dice, sorry, whatever. On a 5... that drives me nuts. Anyway, on a 5-up, the battlefield is dominated with an irradiated fog. Oh, I already love this already. All shooting attacks suffer a -1 penalty to hit for the entirety of the game, but they also improved their AP by -1. So it's harder to hit, but they're more deadly.
Hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, furthermore, unaugmented humans suffer -1 to their morale checks. Roll a dice at the start of every turn after the first. On a roll of 5 up, the fog lifts, and these effects are negated for the rest of the battle. I really dig this. This is really, really, really cool. I like this.
Yeah, I really like that effect. I think it's fun. You could also, if you want to, you could do fog templates.
Yeah.
One of the really cool things in the new chapter approved, not chapter approved, in the new Vigilus campaign, there is a lava flow where you put a bunch of markers along one long battlefield edge, and for each marker you roll a dice at the start of every turn and you advance it forward that many inches, so it oozes forward but kind of randomly. It's one of my favorite things. Yep. So you could actually start with a rad cloud at the center of the board and do the same thing. Instead of moving it from a long battlefield edge, you can move it from the center, and it just spreads out as you go.
So what's interesting is, for those of you who are our longtime listeners, we had a similar rule all the way back in episode 1.
Yeah, the rolling fog. Yeah, that was episode 1, yeah.
Was it episode 1? It was episode 1, 2, or 3. It was one of those first ones. So, as you might have guessed, your hosts love that idea. So, just... Yeah. I have a feeling that you and I probably read the same Stephen King short story at some point.
Yeah, Der Nadel.
Yeah, so... Anyway. Alright, so next up...
Bleached Bone Terrain Feature. This terrain feature represents one of the many charnel piles scattering the landscapes of the Unification Wars. Any unit attempting to traverse this terrain feature is not an easy footing and must subtract 2 inches from their movement or charge distances. Furthermore, unaugmented humans in this terrain feature suffer -1 to their morale checks.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. If I was having to wander through a pile of bones, that would probably make me a little disturbed.
Also here, I didn't do any additional narrative missions because Games Workshop is cranking them out. There's a bunch in the new campaign setting.
Right.
But one thing I would suggest is looking at, you want to look at the Unification Wars as this desperate struggle for survival. And it might be fun to, instead of doing one huge long campaign, set them up in little 3-game narratives like we've done in the past.
Yeah.
But each one should have a specific objective. Instead of saying, we're gonna do the whole Unification Wars, how about instead you worry about individual goals of a narrative campaign? So, for example, the first one would rouse the rabble.
Yeah.
The key to success in this region is to convince the common folk to turn their coats against the Techno Barbarian warlord and join forces with the Emperor Ascendant.
Yeah.
So, like, the first game would be Crucible of War Meat Grinder. So the negotiations have broken down and the Emperor's forces are under assault by a tide of desperate humanity. And that's the one where you have, like, the recycling forces coming in and attacking. Okay. Yep. And then you have Crucible of War Sabotage after that. So the cunning forces of the Emperor seek to shut down the power grid in the enemy's key city. Certainly any military assets will have backups, but the meager resources doled out by the common folk will be at a minimum. Sabotage is also a great game 3 objective for Techno Barbarians wishing to nuke the Emperor. So, like, instead of a sabotage, it's just them planting a nuclear charge in the center of, like, or sabotage, or you know, turning on a nuclear blast that nobody knows is there but them.
Yeah.
And then the third one, Eternal War No Mercy. So with the populace questioning the iron yoke of their warlord, all that remains is to destroy the oppressive regime's most trusted lackeys. But in this scenario, both of the forces should be split evenly, and half their units in each army must be accompanied by elites. The forces of the Emperor Ascendant score differently. They score 2 VP for each elites unit they destroy, and -1 VP for each troops unit they destroy.
Oh,
and the game ends when
okay.
Yeah, the game ends when all of the Techno Barbarians elites have been destroyed. So this represents you trying to convince the common people to follow the Emperor, and you're doing that by killing all of their oppressors, basically.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's a really cool mechanic.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, all these take is a little bit of tweaking to customize them for your specific needs.
Yeah.
There's a couple more, like secure location and gather resources. Like all of these like the first one has to do with, you know, bastions and stuff like that, and taking territory. Gather resources is obviously you need. That's of key importance during the Unification Wars. And just keep that in mind as you're developing your narratives.
Yeah. There's some great, you've got lists of missions that work well together. And yeah, this is quite nice because some of them are coming out of the old chapter approved. Real quick question, and I don't have the new chapter approved yet. Does the Stronghold Assault and Planet Strike rules from the old chapter approved appear in the new one, or do you need to have both?
They didn't send me one. They didn't send me a chapter approved. They only sent me the campaign book.
Oh wait, hold on.
So I don't know.
They were sending it late, or I don't know. Okay, so you don't know.
Well, they thought I don't know. I don't know what's in there. I think a lot of the old missions, from what a lot of people are saying, a lot of the old missions are not in Jones Handbook, and
so you need to have both.
Or sorry, chapter approved, and I actually asked that on the live stream, and they said no. So, which kind of sucks because I lost my chapter approved a couple of weeks ago. I have no idea where it is.
Okay.
No clue.
Yeah, I know where mine is, surprisingly.
That's good. There's a lot of narrative missions in there, so I'm upset that it's missing.
Yeah.
So then I go into, we've got like unit listings. So we have generic unit. So we take a bunch of units that exist already. I didn't want to sit here and make all new rules sets for all this stuff because there's no need, right? So for 2 power level, we have a warlord. We just use the Astra Militarum company commander, and just add a few keywords. So one of the ones that we add to everything is allegiance, and allegiance is either Emperor Ascendant or you pick a Techno Barbarian tribe.
Cool.
Okay, and They add anybody who's like a human unit gets the unaugmented human keyword, and anybody who's power armor unit gets the power armor keyword, because we use that later in the rules to give them special abilities, depending on what kind of a group they are. Then you have Ironside's Warlord. That's his 3PL, but the only thing is he just gets they just get a power armor. They get a 3-up armor save.
Yeah.
And a 4 strength. Yeah. Yep. Then the Discipline Officer, which is a Commissar. Field Mechanic, which is a Tech Priest Ensigner, Engine Seer. You have Rabble, who are Chaos Cultists.
Rabble.
Yep. Gene Scarred Infantry, which are also Chaos Cultists. And then we have the Rabble rerolls successful hit rolls in the shooting phase.
Okay. Oh, cool.
And wound rolls in the fight phase, representing their badly the fact that they are super messed up and have no training whatsoever. They're only 2 power level. Then you have your Ironsides Powered Infantry, which you use Chaos Space Marines, but their ballistic skill and weapon skill are only 4+ instead of 3+. Then we have Motorized Infantry, which you use Rough Riders.
Okay. These are the guys with the horses, right?
Yeah, but instead they're representing motorcycle guys.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I would use, if you're listening to this after the Gene Stealer cult have released, I strongly recommend just using the motorcycle guys from that one.
Oh yeah, that's right. They have those. Yeah, that should be coming out soon, actually.
Oh yeah, for sure. Then you have Ironsides Mobile Infantry, and just use Chaos Raptors for that. Reduce their toughness to 3 and ballistic skill and weapon skill to 4+ each, just like we did with the Chaos Space Marines.
Okay.
Because these are just humans in power armor.
Oh yeah.
Then you have the main battle tank, which you just use a Leman Russ or whatever you want. Just reduce its toughness to 7. Mobile field gun, it's the Basilisk. Reduce the toughness to 5. Dune buggy. Use a truck. Use the orc truck, but power armored units can't embark on it. Then you have light APC. Go ahead and use the Centaur Light Carrier, which is in the Imperial Armor Index Astra Militarum. Then you have a regular APC. Use a Rhino. Then you have a Battle Fortress, which is kind of like just a cool scrap together monstrosity. Go ahead and use a battle wagon for that.
Yeah. Again,
power armor units can't fit in there. Specifically for the Techno Barbarians, you have Mutant Rabble, who are conscripts. You have Sorcerers, who use this primary Psyker rules.
Yeah.
Proto Dreadnought, which go ahead and use the Hellbrute for that. We add the Dark Age Construct to those. Iron Horror, which is the Forge Fiend or Mauler Fiend. And then the Iron Behemoth, which is the Defiler.
That's pretty cool.
I would use those sparingly.
Yeah.
I don't think those would be very common. Then for the Emperor Ascendant unit entries, you have the Thunder Warrior Captain, which I would use the Captain in Gravis armor from the Space Marines Codex.
That's a good idea.
Also, Captain's Rights of Battle are relevant to any friendly unit with a Thunder Warrior keyword. Furthermore, Thunder Warrior Captain will become an unruly squad of Thunder Warriors. As such, any unit of Thunder Warriors within 6 inches may use his leadership instead of their own for all purposes.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
You have a Starday's Captain, who, again, it's just a captain, Space Marine captain. You have your Geno forces, which are the kind of augmented humans of the Emperor. So just use a regular infantry squad with the option to take some of these Dark Age weapons. You have a special weapons squad as well, which you can use. You can use just the generic special weapons squad from Astra Militarum. Thunder Warriors. So these are the only ones that you kind of need special rules for.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like move 6, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 5, toughness 5, wounds 3, attacks 3, leadership 7, save 3+. So you notice they have a kind of a lower leadership. Even the sergeant is leadership 7, +1 attack. Because there's these kind of undisciplined-ish, like, I hate to say undisciplined, they just have a tendency to be unreliable from time to time in combat. And it got worse throughout the Unification Wars. Like, the longer they lived, the worse it got. And I would represent that. Like, if you're playing a game in the later stages of the Unification Wars, like, I would decrease their leadership even further.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's probably a really good idea.
Mm-hmm. Each Thunder Warrior is armed with frag and crack grenades as well as a bolt rifle. 1 Thunder Warrior and 5 may select a special weapon from the heavy weapon from the Space Marines or whatever. Every once in a while they talk about like crazy stuff like lightning guns and stuff that they had. You can use whatever to represent that stuff. We have lots of heavy weapons that we can use. Thunder Warrior may move and shoot heavy weapons without penalty because it's Thunder Warrior. They also have the Emperor's Bulwark special rule, which we talked about earlier, where they have a defense against psychic powers. The rules for that are coming up a little bit later. Then we have Astartes, which use the tactical squad.
Yeah.
Heavy weapons squad. Heavy weapons squad is the human heavy weapons team from Astra Militarum. Feel free to use whatever other kind of units you want throughout the books, but I think those are the main ones that would be easy to use. Again, you don't want to use any of the advanced human troops for the Techno Barbarians, because they are generally their good troops are going to be the power armor guys. So be sure to use those. All right. You want to talk about, like, I took some of the weapons from from
the lore, yeah.
From the lore, from the Red Book. From
the Horus Heresy book, yeah.
Horus Heresy
have a
book.
Graviton Gun. Do you want me to read the stats, or just want me to talk about the
things? We just talk about, we got the Rad Cleanser, Graviton Cannon, and a Radiation Engine.
I think you can, you can probably pick up a lot of these from Forge World. The Graviton Gun you can. The Lightning Gun, I'm pretty sure. And, I mean, there's so much rad stuff with the Destroyers that you can do that as well.
I think that the lore talks about the Thunder Warriors using the Lightning Gun, actually.
Okay.
So I would definitely use that for your Thunder Warrior guys. But what do you think for Thunder Warriors? Do you think Primaris Marines with maybe like a Mark III head or something? I feel like they need plumes on their heads. Maybe Custodes would be better for Thunder Warriors with different shoulder pads.
I think that might be. I'm between thoughts here. I think that the Mark III or the Primaris with Mark IIIs would be really interesting, and would look a lot like, you would know that they're Imperials, but the Custodes might be a better idea because the Thunder Warriors were supposed to be rather ornate with their armor, or at least they were carrying cloaks. They had, fur and spiked helmets and whatnot. And I think that the Custodes
look at those John Blanche drawings, right?
Choice.
Like,
so what?
Look at those John Blanche drawings.
Yeah, I have a suspicion that Custodes are probably going to be a better choice.
And they're big and
As I've been thinking about it as we've been recording, Primaris would fit the scale, but it would probably be cheaper. But the Custodes, I think, might actually fit the lore of the look a little bit better. May have to be some changes, some minor changes, but that's about it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Some might argue that the Custodes are Thunder Warriors, but
yeah. Well, that's
like Thunder Warriors that weren't broken. Like
yeah.
maybe there are some Thunder Warriors that were just not busted.
Yeah.
And those became custodes. Who knows? So for army rules, let's check out page 22.
Okay.
I'll read the allegiance portion.
Okay.
For every unit will have an allegiance faction keyword, and that keyword can either be Techno Barbarian or of your choice. So you would say like Albion or Indonesic block or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it can be Emperor Ascendant. Some units will be specific to the Emperor Ascendant. Some will not have the generic Allegiance faction keyword. If a unit also has the Techno Barbarian faction keyword, then it may not also have the Emperor Ascendant faction keyword assigned to it. So we had the list of units. Some of them were just specifically Techno Barbarian.
Yeah.
When you select a Techno Barbarian tribe as your allegiance, it is also assumed to have the Techno Barbarian keyword.
Yep.
Also.
All right, then we have life is cheap. This is something you need to remember when you're dealing with, the 40k, 30k universe.
Yeah.
During the Unification Wars, human life had little meaning to the warring factions. Millions of souls were sacrificed to the pyre of their meanest of resources. For this reason, in games with kill points, troop choices never surrender any victory points. Which is interesting. Which means you could, game the system quite interestingly, unless there's some...
Yeah, but narrative gaming
Yeah.
is not about gaming the system.
Oh, yeah. So, furthermore, most of the human rabble during the Age of Strife are uneducated and untrustworthy. As such, the warlords of the 30th millennium must rely on their special forces to secure important positions. Modeling a unit which is an elite's choice double when determining whether the army controls an objective. So that's actually really cool as well. Basically, everyone else is chaos cultists, scum, basically scum dogs, and
Yep.
you just kind of you can't trust them to do anything, which is
Right.
an interesting way of putting it. It also yeah. Go ahead.
Note that Thunder Warriors and Astartes are both elite's choices.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah.
they hold. You can't. So if you plan on having any of those, you're gonna find it a lot easier to score objectives than someone who just takes troops.
Yeah.
In their army. So let's chat about the Emperor Ascendant special rules.
Yeah.
First of all, for relics and warlord traits, go ahead and use the Space Marines Codex if the unit has the power armor keyword.
Right.
If it does not, then just go ahead and use the Astra Militarum Codex for your relics and warlord traits.
Okay.
Then you have the Emperor's Bulwark. Some units have the Emperor's Bulwark special rule, which means that they're kind of blessed with this halo of psychic protection. If they can ignore the effects of a psychic power that targets them on a d6 roll of a 4+.
Yep. Then we have Bolter Drill. Very Imperial Fists. All Emperor Ascendant Power Armor units gain this special rule. When rolling to hit with a weapon that has the word bolt in its name against an unaugmented human. That was rough. Generate one additional automatic hit for each natural roll of a 6. I like that. I do like that, considering that, these
it just helps you mow
bolters are
things
supposed to be
down.
explosive. The shells.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just really helps you mow down a lot of infantry, because you might be fighting a great deal of infantry, and Space Marines kind of... The Astartes really need help against that.
Well, that's one of the things I like about the... in 30k, the Volkite rule, where, if you roll a 6... Or not... Hold on. For every unsaved wound, you get an additional wound that you get to roll. I like that. And it's not the same thing, but it is similar enough that I do like it. We then have stratagems. Blessed Halo, which is 1 command point. Use the stratagem at the start of the game. Select a unit. That unit gains the Emperor's Bulwark special rule.
Right. So if you have like a troop, like an infantry unit you'd like to give protection to, you can. I would like to hear folks' ideas for other stratagem. We only have the one stratagem here.
Yeah.
I've had a hard time thinking of others because, if you're just using the, Space Marines or Astra Militarum Codex, you can go ahead and use some, there's plenty of stratagems there for you to use. So just go ahead and use them. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Now here we also have some special rules for the Techno Barbarians, and I think these would be the most unique and most different. So just using rules from the Chaos book would not really suffice, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to like the relics and warlord traits, just go ahead and use the ones from the Chaos Space Marines Codex within reason. You'll know what to do. I wouldn't use things that don't make sense for the perspective of the lore for your that you're trying to build. But you want to do this the first generic stratagem?
Yeah, so our first stratagem is any cost, and that is 3 command points. Sometimes the only option you have left is to just end it all and push the button. The shiny candy apple red button. Use the stratagem at the end of your turn. Roll a dice. On a 4-up, your warlord explodes. Sorry. I already like that one. And it deals 2d3 mortal wounds to every unit within 2d3 inches. Otherwise, they explode at the end of your opponent's turn, and when they are slain, whichever comes first.
Yeah, they still explode. Your opponent just has an opportunity to run away.
Yeah. That's...
So we have faction abilities, and now we have abilities and stratagems specific to the type of faction that your Techno Barbarians are drawn from. So each detachment must select a single faction ability to represent the disposition of their leader, their society, or their style of combat. Every allegiance unit in the detachment benefits from the chosen faction ability. If an allegiance of the same name between multiple detachments, they must choose the same faction ability. So say you're doing Albion. So if you have 3 detachments of Albion, they must use the same faction ability. You can't mix and match.
Okay. And so then we have.
Do you want to do
faithful?
Do you want to do a faithful? Yes.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead and do
I'll do the entire faithful,
Yep.
segment. So this faction is bolstered by their devout belief in a higher power, and we've got a couple of. Well, we have a faction rule. So bolstered by faith. Units with this faction ability who are within 6 inches of a sorcerer add 1 to their leadership when making morale checks. Well, that's pretty cool. Furthermore, sorcerers add +1 to their checks to manifest psychic powers for each allegiance unit within 3 inches of them when they manifest to maximum 3-up. +3. The sorcerer suffers perils of the warp on a 12+. If a sorcerer is slain, all other allegiance units within 6 inches of the model suffer -2 to their leadership when taking morale checks that turn. And lastly, all units with this allegiance keyword add +1 to all of their charge rolls. And the special rule we have here, this stratagem, is Zealous Charge for 2 command points. Use the stratagem when a faithful allegiance unit completes its charge move. The unit adds +1 to their attack's characteristic for that turn. Furthermore, the unit is immune to morale for the remainder of that turn. That's nice. That does remind me of... Gosh, what does it remind me of?
Munitorum priests, and also what are they called? The Space Marine chaplains.
Oh, the chaplain. Okay, that's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that rule.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, they're cool. So those are basically any of the Techno Barbarian tribes that are super religious and maybe even follow the Chaos Gods.
Yeah.
Then you have Gene-Hanced. The warriors of this faction are either beneficiaries of a mad warlord's genetic manipulations or simply do not suffer the usual damage chromosomes the average human endures in these dark times. So genetic enhancement is the special rule. At the start of each game, roll a d3 for each Allegiance infantry unit and increase one of their characteristics by 1. On a 1, their strength characteristic is improved. On a 2, their toughness characteristic is improved. On a 3, their weapon skill characteristic is improved.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that could be quite interesting. It's interesting granularity there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you have for one the stratagem for this special group is Super Soldier. For 1 command point, use the stratagem before the game begins. Select a unit of Allegiance power armor units. The controlling player may select an additional genetic enhancement for that unit, even if it is to the same characteristic.
Uh-huh. Okay. That could get real interesting real quick, too.
That might need to be 2 command points, actually. I want to make that 2 command points. Instead of powerful.
Okay. Yeah.
For a whole unit of power armor guys?
That's true. I guess if they picked up, like, Strength 6 and Power Armor, that'd be pretty nasty. Or
they're wounding
toughness,
most things
whatever,
on 2s.
Weapon skill, what would that be? Either 2-up or a 1-up? Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
okay,
so
yeah, I can
that's pretty
see that.
good.
Alright, so the next faction, and this one's kind of funny. Well, maybe not funny. I mean, it definitely fills a certain void. Numerous. Yeah, I did go with phrasing there, didn't I? I'm sorry. Alright, so numerous, filling the void. Some factions promote high levels of reproduction in their populace because it's a simple fact that warriors win wars. Sadly, life in such a nation is anything but easy. Or long. Endless throng. So this is a key word. Yeah. At the end of each of your movement phases, roll a dice for each destroyed Allegiance Rabble unit. On a 6-up, that unit returns to the battle completely within 6 inches of your battlefield edge. Add a +1 to this roll for each surviving character from this detachment. Add an additional +1 to this roll if your warlord is part of this detachment and is also alive. Oh, okay, so you've got a couple of characters and you've got your warlord. It, could drop down to a 2-up really easily.
Yeah, and it helps, like, so sometimes people take detachments just to do the special thing. So the more units you actually have here leading the thing, the more likely it is they'll have additional resources. Yeah. I would also allow, like, if you have a narrative mission that has regenerating soldiers.
Yeah.
I would do this on top of that. That way you have.
Okay.
That way you get a benefit. Yeah, for having that.
All right, and our stratagem is Nothing to Live For. Use the stratagem at the start of the morale phase. Select an Allegiance character. All Allegiance Rabble with units within 6 inches of that character suffer D3 mortal wounds and are immune to morale checks until the end of the phase. That kind of...
Right, so
is that an
that
orc
character
rule?
doesn't even... Well, the character doesn't even wait for people to fail their morale checks. Like, they just bust everybody. They just pop bullets in people in the as a preliminary like thing. So they don't even have to roll. They're just like pop pop pop. You better not run.
I mean, it sounds like if we show that rule to Phil, he'll take that rule.
Oh, he will. There's no question.
And then he'll,
question.
say, well, why do I have to spend a command point? That'll be his second thing. Or can I do it too? Yeah. Can I do it multiple times for 1 command point? I could see him being all sorts of interested in that.
In busting bullets in his own dudes, yeah.
He plays Creed. He loves playing Creed. So, yeah.
The next Techno Barbarian type is called Survivors. This faction has survived in the harshest conditions and have beat all the odds in order to arrive at this point. They're not about to give up just yet. Tenacity is the special rule. All Allegiance models roll a dice when they suffer an unsaved wound. On a 6+, the wound is ignored. Furthermore, when an Allegiance power armor model flees in the morale phase, roll a dice. On a 5+, that model does not flee.
Okay.
The stratagem is too beautiful to die. 1 command point. The beautiful is in quotes. Use this stratagem at the start of the combat phase. Select an Allegiance unit. Do not take casualties from that unit until the end of the phase. So,
okay.
You have to keep track of how many casualties they've taken in the fight phase, but they are not removed until the end.
Oh, okay, so yeah, that could work. I mean, just knock them over. So you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In our last, is this our last faction? Yeah, our last faction is Tech Masters. Whether through sheer luck or skill, this group has survived thanks to the priceless relics from the Dark Age of technology. So, Wonders of the Dark Age. Units with this allegiance rerolls 1s to hit in the shooting phase. Vehicle units with this allegiance also reroll 1s to hit in the combat phase. And this is kind of nice. Allegiance power armor units also enjoy a 6-up invul save, which is pretty cool. That's the, similar to the old Iron Halo, or maybe the Iron Halo is still there that you could take as an upgrade.
Yeah.
And our stratagem is field repairs. So select an allegiance vehicle within 3 inches of a friendly character. Immediately heal that vehicle D3 plus 1 wounds. I like that. One of my big gripes about the Tech Marine in 7th edition was you could still fail that roll,
Yeah.
It was a nice randomness, but yeah, it could make
it's
things
kind of annoying,
rough.
yeah. And if you're spending a command point, you might as well get it.
Yeah.
And you can only do it once per. If you're running, you can only do it once per character.
Yeah.
You need a character to do it. So, but this is narrative play, so if you want to do that multiple times in a turn, that's okay. If you have multiple characters fixing multiple models.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. Those are all the special rules we have for this. I wanted to just create a little kind of guideline for fighting in the Unification Wars. I hope you folks enjoy it. But I do want to hear your feedback.
Yes.
It would be nice to hear your feedback, and if you have any ideas for additional stratagems or anything like that, let me know. Send us an email. But what do you think, dude? I think it's time to call it a night.
Yeah, this isn't the longest episode we've done by any stretch of the imagination. Cough, Mechanicus, Trilogy, cough. But yeah, it's probably about time. Yeah.
All right.
So
cool. Let's take a break and come back and close out the show.
Yeah.
Hey, Masters of the Forge listeners, are you looking to expand your Warhammer 40,000 gaming group?
Do you want to start a 40k club in your area?
Do you want the people you attract to be like-minded mofos?
Do you want to advertise your YouTube channel?
Or even attract more subscribers to your hobby blog or online community?
Then what better way than to advertise on the Masters of the Forge podcast?
All we ask of you is that you email us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com or message us on Facebook with a full text of your advertisement, including the region in which you live and any contact information people can use to get a hold of you.
We will have one of our many tech servitors read your advertisement on the air. We promise not to make fun of you.
Though we can't always predict the actions of our servitors, you really can't find good help these days.
No, you can't.
Hey, mofos. Are you looking for more Warhammer 40k video content? Well, the Scarred Cast posts regular battle reports as well as tactics and strategy videos. Be sure to check out all the cool hobby content for the avid tabletop wargamer. That's Scarred Cast, Skared on YouTube.
Welcome back. Time to say goodbye, Jason.
Yeah. Time to say so long for, a couple of weeks or a few days or however long. Yeah.
So we've talked about it, and we've decided to, with the baby coming and everything, it's time to go to a monthly format.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, but that's just how it has to be. Need to start prioritizing different things, and that's okay. We'll have a nice detailed topic every month.
Yeah.
And it'll be like this episode, a nice long detailed topic. I would like to hear, but it also give you a chance to give us feedback on the episode and maybe what you want to hear next. Let us know what you want to hear about. I think we've had some ideas. I'm going to look back at some of our posts. I think some folks did have some things. Now, we're not gonna we're a little more reactive now with the Games Workshop's releases. We're doing these
prototype episodes.
Prototypes episodes. Yeah, that was a good idea for a name, Jason.
Ah, thanks.
The prototypes episode where we do 15 minutes on a time sensitive topic, and it lets us promote the things GW is doing without going into a huge long topic about it, but it lets us tell you about it, about the product, but it also lets us talk about other things really quickly. Like you want to do an episode of that based on the CK Studios thing you went to.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I think it'll give us an opportunity to do that sort of thing. So that's what we're going to do with those. But we'll have these long episodes that we want your input on it, like what we should do. Now, having said that, we've had people ask about doing a Gene Stealer Cult episode.
Oh,
many times.
Yeah.
And we do have Gene Stealer Cults coming out. So I'm going to suggest we do episode 1, 2. Oops. I'm going to suggest we do episode 1, 2, 3 on Gene Stealer Cult. Now, that has nothing to do with kind of has something to do with the fact that Gene Stealer Cult are coming out as a codex, but also I'm not going to say, oh, we have to wait for the Gene Stealer Codex to come out before we release the episode. No. Yeah. Instead, we can look at the existing Gene Stealer Cult Codex and the lore and do an episode on that. What do you think?
That sounds like a good idea. I know nothing about the Gene Stealers, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I know very little myself, so yeah. I think that's actually a good thing. Like, we don't make any. We're not one of those people who have been in the Warhammer lore for
25,
since we're children.
Yeah, 25 years.
So a lot of people out there have YouTube channels and they're devoted to the lore, and they can talk about the lore off the top of their heads. We can't do that. We painstakingly write show notes and scripts that let us it's basically a research paper every episode. So it's literally what it is. So keep that in mind. We're going to go through and we're going to talk about the old lore and how it's been folded into the new lore. And it's going to be mainly informed by what's in the codex, because the codex is the newest, most recent information. Yeah. And if that is in any way like if it contradicts old lore, the new codex, the new lore trumps old lore. It's just all there is to it. Yeah. So let's do that. January will be the Gene Stealer Cults, so we'll talk about that. Fortunately, we won't have to come up with a fan dex for that because it's happened already.
Yeah. So that's actually quite nice. That'll cut back on a lot of work.
For a long time, we had a folder and a few files in our Google Drive that said Gene Stealer Cult fan dex.
Yeah.
We were thinking about making one, and then GW did it, so we don't have to worry about it. Yay.
That's actually really nice. I remember when I first saw that in the folder, I thought, oh man, that looks like a lot of work.
All right, cool. So we'll I'm looking forward to that. But until then.
Well, hold on. You were wanting to talk about the Golden Sprue Cup? Remind people?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Please check out the Golden Sprue Cup. Go on goldenspruecupgt.com or just go to the Best Coast Pairings app and get your tickets now, where we might be a major. We're definitely a GT. GT was easy. We easily make GT status. But please go ahead and check us out. We have a really fun time. Please, if you're in the Northeast, come to our tournament. It's a lot of fun. And then after that, Jason, I am going to take a break and just start working on the house. I'm going to be very hobby light after Golden Sprue. I need to get the house ready for the baby.
Yeah.
I need to get rid of a cat. If anybody's in the Northeast and doesn't have a child, a young baby, young child, and has room for a cat, please let me know.
Yes, your cat. Yeah.
The cat needs to go. So please let me know if you can take the cat. I can't just dump it off at a shelter. I just can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't just throw it outside. So please let me know if you have room for a cat. It's not great with very small children. And that's why I took it in the first place, because it wasn't good for the person's kids.
Oh,
okay,
kids. Yeah.
That's why we took it. And yeah. And then it got in a fight with Fritz. Like, it attacked Fritz, and Fritz got sick, and we had to take him and get his leg fixed. So, like,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's not great with other cats either. I mean, it's a fine cat. The cat is fine. It's just not great with other cats and children.
Yeah.
So that's a big ask. So hopefully I find that unicorn forever home person.
Yeah.
But anyways, so again, check us out on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. And tune in next time for our talk on Gene Stealer cults. But until then,
play the game the way you want to.
Sweet. All right.
No, nailed
Boom.
it. There you go. There's boom.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Boom. Nailed it.
This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial, International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com. The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.